Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called Dr. Resignation. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! Worries are written on the civilians' faces as they wonder why they're inside the prison cell. One of those people in the prison cell is the orange-haired girl named Rishi. Touching her hair out of frustration, she can't seem to fathom what's been happening. All of these seem so unbelievable. She's still 18, and ever since she's 10, she's always been called a genius. Despite her young age, she was even able to recently open a clinic and aims to have a reputation like other doctors. That's why she can't seem to understand why she has to die like this. Rishi lives in a place named Sirius. Half a year ago, the duchy's successor, Aryan Sirius, passed away. Ever since he was young, his body has always been so fragile. The moment he becomes an adult, it worsens, causing him to die. His cousin, Waderick Vises Esader, inherited the position of Duke. However, the moment he steps in the position, he joins the rebels, making the territory into the battlefield. The rebellion was suppressed by the royal family in a short time, wherein most of the young men of the dukedom were either killed or wounded, and the people had to pay for the huge damage. But the question still lies in Rishi's head. Why was she locked up in that place? Does she deserve it? No matter how much she thinks about it, she still doesn't think she deserves to be treated that way. She's the best doctor in that territory. What she did was just treat patients. But the royal palace accused her of being the person who plays a crucial role in the expansion of the rebels. She just wants to earn money. She looks down injustice, and what she feels is a strong sense of injustice. A lot of questions must be running inside their heads, knowing that they did nothing to deserve this. With a heavy heart, tears start to fall from her eyes, realizing that she can't do anything about it. Suddenly, an old woman approaches her and asks if she feels miserable. Caught up by what's been happening, she can't help but to voice out what she feels and how unjust it is for them to imprison her when she's just trying to treat her patients. The moment the old woman knew that she's a doctor, the old woman asked if Rishi could check her up since she's been having a headache lately. Rishi sighs. Perhaps it will be her last duty as a doctor. She holds the old woman's hands. By the moment, she realizes what's wrong with her. She prescribes her some medicine to drink. Grateful for what Rishi has done, the old woman asks her what she wants in return. Well, of course Rishi would want to get out of that place and escape death, but the old woman can't do that. That's why she asks her if she can help her find her parents. The old woman may not be able to get her out of that place, however, she can turn back time. All of a sudden, Rishi feels dizzy, making her fall asleep on the floor. By the moment she wakes up, she sees a familiar surrounding. She's not in the prison anymore, but it seems like she's in the orphanage she lived in. She immediately stands up and looks at herself in the mirror. Her eyes widened as she shouts because of how surprised she is to see her 13-year-old self in the mirror. Looking at the mirror, she wonders why everything became like this, from her going to prison to her going back to the past. But then, this may be the doing of the old woman that she met in the prison, and this just must be a way for her to escape death. So she made up her mind and decided that she just had to survive. First thing that she has to do is to leave this territory immediately. With her medical knowledge, she won't starve to death. On her way to leaving, she notices that the dress she's wearing is the dress that she wore on the first day after leaving the orphanage to start working at the village clinic. Suddenly, children started to walk towards her and bid her goodbye. Miss Elburn, the one who saved her in a basket floating in the river, walks towards her and asks her if she'll go to Zitben's clinic. She also bids her goodbye and gives her a notebook and pen as a gift, and good luck for her in becoming a doctor. Seeing their angelic faces makes Rishi wonder what life would be for them if she leaves this place, knowing that it'll become a complete hell for them in the future. These babies don't deserve it. She can't seem to just let that happen, knowing that innocent and precious people will lose their lives because of the rotten government and leader that they will soon have. That is why she told Miss Elburn that instead of Miss Zitban's clinic, she'll go to the Sirius Castle since she hears that the doctor to Duke Sirius, Mr. Arga, is looking for an assistant. Sirius territory was once a peaceful place, but because their heir, Aryan Sirius, died, unfortunate circumstances began to happen. That's why in order to save the people that she loves, she has to save Aryan Sirius's life. On her way there, she wonders what she'll do if things don't end well. Should she try another way, or should she just follow her own desire to look for her parents? In the palace, Rishi is being interviewed by Mr. Arga, the Duke's doctor, who seemed to be skeptical on hiring a 13-year-old like her. He begins to ask some questions, and even tricky ones that he's sure a girl her age won't know. Seeing how smart she is for having all the answers for what he asked, Mr. Arga wonders how she knows all of it, since it seemed to be unbelievable for her to have all of that knowledge. But then, Rishi just smiled at him, saying that it's all because she's a genius. I love how she's always saying that she's a genius. Go flex it, girly. Mr. Arga smirks, asking why a genius like her wants to be his assistant. But of course, wanting to get in, Rishi flowers him with a compliment as she tells him that a genius like her wants to work for a genius too. And just like that, Rishi finally got the chance to be his assistant. Mr. Arga warns her to not disappoint him even once, or else she has to get out of the mansion right away. He leads her to her room. It's his first time doing it, that's why the maids are all surprised since he has never led the other assistant to their rooms before. It seems like he gained a liking for her. The moment they enter the room, Rishi is surprised by how pretty it is. The room is so huge and full of gold and pink aesthetics. She is also greeted by a smiling old lady named Jenny, who is in charge of her. Seeing the things in the room, Rishi wonders if the owner of the room is a lady who is the same age as her. As he notices Rishi looking at the cabinet, Arga tells her that she can use the clothes there and gets even defensive by telling her that he only gives her those since they'll be thrown away. Don't get too defensive. We know you gained a liking on her. Rishi just looks at him with a poker face, saying that she understands what he said. Before Mr. Arga leaves, he reminds her that he'll be sending her books that she has to read. She has to remember them all before tomorrow. The moment he steps out, Jenny immediately walks towards her and asks if she can even handle all of those books, since it might be dozens. But Rishi assures her that she can handle all of it. After all, she's a genius. Seeing Rishi, Jenny really thinks that she's just like Arga when he was a child, since when he was her age, he spread all over the area that he is a genius. What he did today made her even curious as to why he gave his child's room to Rishi. Rishi's mind widens. She doesn't know that this is his daughter's room. But then Jenny explained that Arga has a daughter, but wasn't able to even see her before she died. To shift the conversation, Jenny told her that she'll take Rishi around the palace later. She even told her that the young duke's room is at the end of the lobby, making Rishi curious if she'll visit him or not. Aryan's health has always been so fragile. She remembers that in the past, when his doctor was temporarily replaced, he died. He really can't even let Arga go away. She really had to visit him as soon as possible. Maybe the sickness that he has should have been cured when he was a child. The next day, Jenny enters the room, surprised to see how good Rishi looks. She really looks like royalty with a pretty dress and makeup on. Jenny asks her to have lunch with Arga. She's even nervous for her since that lunch is the phase wherein assistants will be interviewed to see if they pass or not. But Rishi, being the genius that she is confident that she can pass. And she really did. All throughout the lunch, she asks all about the medicine and herbs and what to prescribe to the sick patient. Mr. Arga even told her that she seems to be useful. Well, he can't find such a second genius in the continent. He was even surprised by how frank she is, and thought that the two of them are quite alike. They're both frank and kind. Mr. Arga then reminds her what to do as an assistant, saying things that she has to take notice of. After lunch, Jenny walks her all over the palace. Seeing how Arga treated Rishi, she completely thinks that she's so lucky since he had always been so harsh with others, so he's probably very pleased with her. Well, Rishi can really admit that she has the qualifications to be a doctor, and with that, Jenny thinks that Rishi can really be a reliable assistant and a great help to Arga. For sure, Rishi will be very busy because Arga still has some things to do aside from being a doctor, such as going around the mainland to look for his daughter. Jenny holds Rishi's hands. With a soft look in her eyes, she tells Rishi how she will be a good assistant to him and ease the burden on Arga's shoulder. The moment they step outside, Rishi hears someone calling Aryan an idiot. She turns around and sees Waderik insulting Aryan, forcing him to play, and even gives him a cake, insisting for him to eat it since he's so weak. Hearing the conversation, Rishi can pretty much say that Waderik is gaslighting him into thinking that Aryan's bad at it. No wonder Aryan always doesn't feel well. Rishi hurriedly runs towards him as she shouts at Waderik and lies, telling him that the Baron is looking for him and it seems urgent. When Waderik leaves, he secretly puts the cake in Aryan's pocket. Rishi immediately approaches Aryan with a huge smile on her face and asks him to play with her. Aryan seems timid, but at the moment they play tennis. He seems so good at it. Rishi can't even win against him, now seeing how good he is. When she falls on the ground, Aryan, looking worried, helps her and continuously apologizes for it. It seems like he was made to believe that he sucks at games when the truth is he's good. Oh no, why would they even make you believe that you're not good? That's what Waderik inflicted in his mind, that he sucks, he's useless, that it's all his fault, and he's the one who only hurts others. After Aryan's father passed away, his mother has been busy managing the estate. The one who's always by his side is Waderik. Others may seem to think that the two have a good relationship, but the truth is, Not even close. Taking advantage of Aryan's weakness, Waiderick inflicted insecurities within him, such as asking him not to go to night class since his body will become more weak, and telling him not to eat or he'll be fat. Those words affected Aryan, and as the time went by, his health deteriorated. Seeing Aryan's body, the situation is not as serious as she thought. He's skinny, but his muscles are in good shape, and all she needs to do is help him grow well. Weirded out by this sudden interaction, Aryan asks her who she is, in which she delightfully introduces herself as Rishi, the new assistant of Arga. Aryan immediately thought that she'll be kicked out right away since most of the assistants do, but instantly says no. She's a genius, right? In an instant, she looks him in the eyes and asks him to promise her one thing, for him to follow her no matter what. Clueless as to why he should follow her, Rishi just tells him that he should do that because she's a believable doctor and she'll help him be healthy. To celebrate their first-time meeting, Rishi asks him to have dinner with her. At first, Aryan's hesitant since he promised to have dinner with Waiderick, but it seems like Waiderick is about to go, so he had no choice. At the dinner, Rishi notices how miserable Aryan is. Being controlled by other people and not being able to do his hobbies because he's afraid he'll annoy other people. Rishi gets annoyed hearing this from him. She even gets more furious seeing that he isn't eating well. And when she asks him about that, he replies that Waiderick told him not to eat a lot or he'll get fat. In her mind, Rishi is cursing Waiderick over and over again for all these negativities that he inflicted on this young boy's mind. Rishi told Aryan to eat more. He needs it since it's time for growth. At first, Aryan is still hesitant, but as a doctor, Rishi explains that she knows more than him. She asks him to eat well and exercise, and he'll be just fine, and to not listen to Waiderick ever again. Aryan looks down. He thinks that Waiderick is the only person that cares for him. Rishi stands up. She looks at him and says that she cares about him more than anyone else. Rishi, please save this poor boy! Aryan wonders if she'll still be there by the time he becomes a healthy adult, or if Mr. Arga already finds his daughter. But Rishi asks him to just think about it later on, because for now, the most important thing is for him to be healthy. A pink-haired man named DL enters Arga's room and hands him some information about the little girls in the orphanage in Ariba area. He's working hard to find his daughter because if only he came with his wife to the banquet that time, all of those things wouldn't have happened. Sione, his wife, was going alone to her parents' house. He wasn't able to go with her since she wanted him to concentrate on his research. She assured him that she'll be okay, and it's also a long time before her due date. However, on her trip, she suddenly gave birth prematurely. Right at that moment, both mother and child were in critical condition, but Baron Isader helped them. Right when they're okay, since she doesn't want to bother the Baron anymore, Sione decides to go home alone with her child. That was the last time she was seen alive because not too long after that, Arga found the body of his dead wife, and the only information he has of his daughter is that she has blonde hair and green eyes. He got this information from the Baron. However, DL is questionable with his information. What if it's incorrect? There's a huge chance that the information is incorrect, and what the Baron said is completely untrue. Suddenly, DL asks him about the new assistant that Arga got, which made his expression change. He looks satisfied with his new assistant, and even boasted to DL that she's a genius, and if she continues to work there, he'll have more time to find his daughter. Rishi's in her room when all of a sudden Arga enters, reminding her that they'll be meeting the Duchess and young Master Aryan in the afternoon. He then puts a pile of treatment diaries on the table and asks her to remember all of it. Upon reading all of those treatment diaries, Rishi can't understand why the Duchess would die after 6 years when all of her treatment diaries were okay. No matter how much Arga will prescribe the right medication, if he doesn't know what the cause, they can't really solve it. That's why before the Duchess and Aryan dies, she has to uncover the truth. During the meeting with the Duchess seems surprised that Arga finally brings an assistant since they tend to be kicked out before she even meets them. But she's a bit hesitant since Rishi is still 13, though it quickly goes away the moment she hears from how good Rishi is. Dedicated by her plan, Rishi plans to have the Duchess recognize her ability so she can be permitted to go to Arga's lab to find out the cause of all of this. You're a natural, Rishi. Bet the Duchess will like you right away. Checking the Duchess's health, Arga asks what she felt the past few days, in which Rishi replies and tells her the medicine that she prescribed too. She's doing this to gain the Duchess's trust. Suddenly, Arga tells the Duchess that for the meantime, Rishi will be their temporary doctor. Of course, the Duchess is hesitant about it, but then Arga assures her that he'll visit from time to time and will come back after 3 days. He then asks the Duchess that if after 3 days they confirm that Rishi's suitable for the job, he wants to go to Irbia to look for his daughter. Well, despite her doubts, the Duchess can do nothing about it. As they are walking in the hallway, Aryan reassures Rishi that his mother means no harm. She just has some doubts since she's too young. But Rishi completely understands that. She just really has to do her job well. Suddenly, Rishi stops and informs Aryan that whenever he doesn't feel okay, there's a bell in his and the Duchess's room, and all he has to do is to ring it and she'll come right away. In her room, thinking about Arga going to Urbia to look for his daughter, Rishi realizes that after 6 years, a paternity test will be made. She only saw it on the newspaper, but she had never reproduced it herself, and if she remembers the approximate ingredients, it might be possible for her to make it. I'm so glad she thought of making a paternity test on her own, since she's looking for her parents too. A few hours later, unfortunately, she can't seem to make it properly. If only she'd have access to Arga's lab. She's frustrated by what she's doing when all of a sudden the red light beeps. The Duchess is in emergency. Rishi immediately sees the Duchess and holds her hand. The moment the Duchess wakes up, she instantly feels better. It turns out that by holding her hand, she directly infused some magic since it's a more effective way in treating her. Rishi stayed by the Duchess's side until she fell asleep. The next morning, the Duchess sent Rishi a huge cake and a letter stating that she's so thankful for the help that she received. She finally felt relieved, and it's been a while since she slept well. Rishi feels glad by what the Duchess said. However, the moment she sees the cake, it's too huge for her. That's why she invited Aryan to eat it with her. While eating, Aryan also shares that he didn't sleep well last night. That's why Rishi holds his hand right away. She immediately knows that Aryan has a headache and fever, so she takes him to his room and takes care of him. However, despite the pain he feels, he still assures her that he'll be okay. But she doesn't believe that. He's not okay. He's just getting used to it. That's why she'll help him to get better. She holds his hands until they can both fall asleep as she infuses magic within him, hoping that it will treat him. And it really did. Aryan wakes up feeling better than earlier. She really is a good doctor. Aryan, the young duke, gives his thanks to the young Miss Rishi for making him feel better with her amazing abilities as a doctor. He asks her if she's not tired, waking up early and doing everything for him. Rishi is determined to change her fate in the future by keeping the duke healthy and hindering his death. So she puts down her book and gently suggests that the young duke shall go run a few rounds in return for her service. The duke is a bit reluctant as he is sleepy, yet she continues to urge him to run laps and even tries to guilt-trip Aryan. Eventually, Aryan gives in to Rishi and runs his laps. Despite his weak body, he manages to follow Rishi's regimen and eats a great meal. Go, Aryan! You can do it! Don't die because the estate needs you in the future! Nighttime comes and her plans are aligning properly with her objective. However, there's a slight miscalculation that threatens her goal. She directs Aryan to read books so he may be able to doze off and sleep easily. However, Aryan, who is a bookworm, enjoys even the most complicated book she offered him a while ago. He is determined to finish it tonight. She quickly intervenes, taking the book from him. She then holds his hand while he suggests that she sleep beside him. He may be a little guilty of letting her do so much for him. He thanks her for always thinking of his well-being. She insists on sitting down beside his bed. However, she can't resist sleeping anymore, so she ends up dozing off in that position. Then, she dreams of her old self, lying down on the bed with a guy who doesn't want to leave her. Quite confused, she tries to look closer to check his face and maybe try to remember him. But sooner than she expected, she wakes up, seeing the young duke sleeping soundly and still holding her hand. After a few days of curating the paternity test, Rishi reaches the final stage, but she has yet to ask Viscount Farrellman for an important component that she needs to complete it. It is not going well for her as she asks Viscount Farrellman for permission to retrieve some Aethopu petals to accomplish her work. Unfortunately, the Viscount disapproves, not wanting her to use poisonous plants for her research. She pleads for him to take a look at her study to at least let him understand why she is desperate. Discouraged, she eventually gives up and asks to leave instead so she can rework the whole research. Meanwhile, Viscount Farrellman gets amused by the papers in his hand, realizing how great of a young doctor this girl is despite being the same age as his daughter. His feet then lead him to Rishi's room. Inside, he sees her room filled with so many papers and remembers how she tried to ask him for a research laboratory. At some point, his geeky side feels proud of the girl, yet he hides it thoroughly when Jenny, the maid assigned to watch Rishi, approaches him. He then asks her about Rishi's action, yet she fails to notice anything unusual about the lady. He then commands her to stop spying on the girl for him and instead orders Jenny to bring the girl some desserts. He seems to be so fond of Rishi but is trying to hide it. The Viscount's probably shy. Meanwhile, Rishi urges Aryan to take more steps before they sit down in a good shade inside the forest. She is still on a mission to keep the Duke as healthy as possible. As they rest, she notices how beautiful Aryan's features are. she knows that he'll grow into a very handsome duke in the future. She smiles and Aryan takes notice. She reasons that she's happy that he's accompanying her to the forest. Later on, Aryan breaks it to her that he only decided to take a stroll in the forest because Waterick told him that cherries are abundant during this time. Rishi's eyes light up as she asks to harvest some with the young duke. But as soon as they get up to walk towards some cherry trees, a snake approaches the duke. When Aryan is about to be bitten by the sly snake, Rishi panics and prioritizes the duke's life over hers by keeping him out of the snake's attack. The snake bites Rishi on her leg as she screams in pain. OMG, poor Rishi! A flash of light awakes Rishi, but she is now again her older self. She silently stares at the view from the window during winter. A superbly tall, handsome, jet black hair guy arrives behind her with a coat, only to hang it on her to give her warmth. She then takes a look at the guy and discovers that it's Aryan. She calls his name while he offers to dry her hair to prevent her from catching a cold midwinter. She then explains that she's used to leaving her hair wet even during the winter season since she comes from the orphanage. Yet again, he flirts with her, asking if he can wash her hair. She immediately blushes with her assumptions and attempts to slap him on the chest. Are you trying to seduce her? I am not ready for it because Aryan was just a young boy a few minutes ago. But he catches her hand effortlessly to let her slap his face instead to avoid hurting her hand from his hard chest. What? He then conveys his feelings of hurt when he sees Rishi in pain. All of a sudden, she sees teardrops before her, which confuses her. She then hears someone call her name and wonders who it is. She opens her eyes at the sight of the young Duke Aryan again, this time. She wakes up after 2 days of sleep while the Duke's family enters the room to check on her. The Viscount Ferrelman provides Rishi with a sleeping pill to help her recover fully. Days pass by, and despite not being able to study properly in bed, Rishi manages to continue her service under the roof of Duke Aryan. Also, after the snakebite incident, the Duchess and the Viscount unusually become more caring as if Rishi has become a part of the family. The Viscount will soon leave for Erbia, and so as time passes, Aryan grows fond of Rishi even more, spending time with her almost every time. Rishi dines with the Duchess with sophisticated desserts that many professional chefs created since the Duchess will choose a new private chef for the dukedom's royal family. Rishi then asks about the Duchess's headache and suggests that Her Grace add dandelion milk to her bath to keep her skin glowing while she recovers from her headache. The Duchess is bewildered that despite being a young child, Rishi has a sense of responsibility and maturity. The Duchess bids her utmost thanks during dinner as she discloses the story of her and her son Aryan. The Duchess believes that perhaps Aryan's weak body would hinder his projection as a strong leader in the future. Hence, she lets him do things on his own and strengthen his future role by focusing on being a great Duchess. Then again, Rishi lifts her soul by assuring the Duchess that she will be the one to take good care of Aryan and his health. And as participative as he is in her regimen, she's confident that he's recovering pretty well. Later on, Rishi studies while Jenny asks her a bunch of questions regarding her likes and dislikes. As a matter of fact, her clothes are now even better because of the Duchess's favor, generously providing her with the best tailors to curate her outfits. Rishi gets curious about Jenny's intentions, so she questions her. Jenny tells her that the Viscount ordered her to ask about Rishi's inclinations as he feels guilty for doubting her and as a way to thank her for the services as well. Rishi takes the opportunity to get permission to use the research lab. She even asks for a friend who is smart and is around 19 years old. Since Viscount Ferrelman wants to compete with the Duchess when it comes to gaining Rishi's favor, he decides to gift DL, his apprentice, to the girl along with her own research lab. Rishi is then stunned when DL then introduces himself to Rishi during her lunch with Aryan. I'd be stunned if everything that I asked for is given to me instantly too. Girl, they love you already. DL introduces himself as the Viscount's present to Rishi. She then asks Jenny for a smart friend who is older. DL is at her service along with the construction of the research laboratory. Rishi halts for a second upon hearing his words. She tells him that the widening of the research laboratory is unnecessary since she's using the lab solely for research. However, the Viscount insists on making it more colorful as she pleases. They then discuss a greenhouse that she can add to the research area and agrees to discuss it more later on. She continues to eat her food and thinks happily of the future laboratory equipment when she notices Aryan's gloomy look. She then cups his forehead to check for fever, but he has none. To her, he seems off with his ominous expression when he finally speaks up. He questions her desire to have an older friend and directly confronts her if she happens to not like talking to him. He even asks her if she prefers DL over him, which leaves Rishi conflicted and misunderstood. Young Aryan's jealous at this point. Stop, boy! Way too young for crushes. Rishi instantly clarifies her feelings and pure intentions on the research, given that she'd only known DL a few minutes ago. She then explains that she cannot be friends with Aryan, who is a noble and the successor of the Sirius family. This statement sends a frown on Aryan's face, almost disappointed with what he heard. However, Rishi continues to explain that their relationship is much stronger and closer than just friends. This is also a way of her gaining more trust from Aryan, in line with her plans to keep him alive. Meanwhile, Aryan blushes at the thought of her considering them closer than friends, as he agrees to follow Rishi's lead in keeping himself healthy, so he can grow into a fine man like Rishi wants as a friend. I'm sensing a developing feeling of attachment here, young Aryan. Watch out, because you may fall in love. She smiles at him and reassures him that he can still have dinner and book reading with Rishi, despite having tutors to help him grow smarter, and the knights to help him stack some muscles and become physically stronger. Finally, the day when the Viscount has to leave for Erbia to find his lost daughter comes. The Duchess, Aryan, and Rishi bid him goodbye while the servants take care of the Viscount's things into the carriage. Boy, I hope the Viscount finds his daughter soon enough. Rishi gives her farewell when the Viscount turns his head towards her, informing her that she will have to see him off the harbor as she is his assistant together with DL. But before he can leave, DL informs Rishi that the Viscount has left a present for her. But when she faces the Viscount's direction, he pretentiously acts like he doesn't care about her and denies the present with lame excuses. Rishi realizes that upon seeing the Viscount to the harbor, it's her first time going out of the Duke's mansion. She then becomes giddy upon thinking of the laboratory equipment that they will be shopping for later on, when the Viscount expresses his opinion on her yellow dress. In my opinion, the dress looks cute and dainty, like a version of Princess Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Cute! She then openly informs him that it was one of the gifts that the Duchess gave her and that the plain design is her idea. Momentarily, while still in the carriage, the three of them, including DL, pass by another carriage that is carrying prisoners who are said to have used forbidden magic. DL explains that those stray people are going to trial and will be punished accordingly. What struck Rishi the most is the death penalty mandated on those who have used forbidden magic, as it's dangerous and too powerful to handle. Like a thunderbolt, she flops in front of the carriage window in shock to see the grandma who granted her the opportunity to go back in time when they were in the cell the night of her supposed punishment. She inquires about the trial and how these people are able to use magic, her curiosity growing even more when she sees the old woman. I am giddy and excited about what's going to happen. DL elaborates more about it, however ambiguously, since his knowledge is quite limited. As soon as Rishi diverts her attention to the direction where she last saw the grandma, the carriage has already gone away from her sight. She learns that forbidden magic is prohibited due to the side effects that it causes. Taken aback, she asks herself what probable side effects she now has, given that the grandma used forbidden magic on her. She dozes off to sleep, and once again she enters a world where she and Aryan are their older version. The two discuss their feelings just like when they were having lunch the last time Aryan got bothered by DL's presence. This time around, they speak maturely about how Rishi loved to feed and take care of Aryan. With a snap of a finger, she wakes when DL tells her that they have arrived at the laboratory equipment shop. Meanwhile, the young Aryan visits the general knight, Joaquin, to tell him that he is determined to learn swordsmanship to become tall and reliable for Rishi. Soon enough, Joaquin introduces Jade, who is one of the most brilliant knights to train the heir of the Sirius estate. Anyhow, Joaquin warns the young duke that Jaquel's training may be quite harsh and asks him if he can do it. Determined, he answers firmly that he will be working hard. The young Aryan is taking things to the next level. OMG, this is just way too cute! Rishi, on the other hand, sneezes as if someone is thinking of her, while the Viscount and DL are concerned about whether she happens to have caught a cold. Then again, she assures them that she's fine and is evidently having so much fun with the laboratory equipment. DL lists down the necessary order for the laboratory equipment, including the sizes of the beakers and their quality. When he asks the Viscount and Rishi, both answer the same brand, the same suggestions and opinions on the equipment. Great minds think alike. DL then teases the both of them, given how Viscount and Rishi coincidentally have the same brown hair color. The two quarrel with him, yet their answers are still in unison and similar with one another. A few hours later, DL and Rishi have to send the Viscount off on his journey to find his lost daughter in Erbia. The Viscount commends them for efficiently writing down a list before shopping, which made it easier and faster for them to shop completely. Moreover, before the Viscount can leave, Rishi takes the opportunity to thank him for giving her some favors with the research laboratory and the props so she can work on her research effectively, especially on the paternity test as soon as possible. She sends her warm wishes on his journey, and silence surrounds them for a short while. The Viscount then indirectly asks her if what he offered her as a present is much more preferable than the gowns that the Duchess provided her. Rishi is confused at first, but DL helps her understand the Viscount's intentions clearly. She then agrees with him, thanking him sincerely as she waves her hand to see him off. Later at night, a servant comes to Rishi's room to inform her of Aryan's muscle pain. She comes to his aid and learns that he's learning swordsmanship at such an early age. She almost panics at the thought, but he assures her that his performance is fine despite him doubting the compliments. She assures him that he has the potential, and he believes her easily. She then brings him to sleep before going out of his room. Suddenly, a flash of red light appears from the Duchess's room. If she cannot stop this early stage of the Duchess's illness, she will surely perish in 6 years' time like in the past. She fears that she will succumb to her fate earlier than usual if she's too late. She runs to find the Duchess coughing up blood on her handkerchief. Rishi enters the Duchess's room to have a talk with her. Later on, she finds out that the Duchess has been keeping her illness hidden from everyone, especially Viscount Farrellman. The Duchess is having hemoptysis for an unknown reason and is quite complicated to assess and find an accurate prescription. The Duchess then pleads with Rishi to keep her illness a secret from the Viscount given the situation. The Duchess reveals that when the Viscount knew that the late Duke, who is Aryan's father, was coughing up blood, he quit his job as the main therapist of the family 7 years ago. She reveals that Viscount Farrellman's most important task in his life is to find his daughter. Yet the Duchess was able to keep him on their side with her husband's death as an excuse. With Viscount Farrellman, Aryan is able to live better and safer as he's saved him several times already. The Duchess even adds that if only Aryan's spot of becoming the Duke is safe and that he can live a great life, she would not mind dying early. Also, she knows that if the Viscount knows about her condition, he may quit again. Rishi thinks wisely and agrees with the Duchess's wishes. She then asks the Duchess to let her have the handkerchief with her coughed-up blood on it so she can do some research on it. Hopefully, she can curate a good and accurate prescription. With this said, the Duchess feels a sense of relief knowing very well that she can depend on the young lady despite her young age. They then continue to discuss her condition until the topic shifts to the research lab. Rishi gives her biggest thanks to the Duchess for allowing her to use the research laboratory, and even providing her with a new greenhouse for research purposes. More so, Rishi suggests that the Duchess should stop hiding her symptoms any longer from Rishi, so she can track down her condition and find out what she can with the knowledge and abilities she possesses. Meanwhile, the young Aryan learns some tricks which are basically about not believing what others say, as people tend to lie to get what they want. He then absorbs what he has learned so easily and counters his trainer without even blinking. In the laboratory, Rishi takes a deeper look at the handkerchief and studies it particularly. She then comes to the conclusion that the handkerchief seems to reek of some poisonous odor. Finally, she raises her head to conclude that the Duchess is in a serious condition and someone is intentionally poisoning her grace. Rishi is shocked as the blood from the handkerchief is reacting with the silica grass, which is used to detoxify the hippus flowers poison. From that moment, she concludes that somebody is poisoning the Duchess. Hippus flowers poison typically causes headaches and stomach aches. Usually, people don't think they're easily poisoned. Without anybody knowing, a criminal is slowly murdering the Duke's wife. That explains why she and her husband had the same symptoms. Furthermore, Rishi thinks that the Duchess must have been ingesting it continuously for a long time, that it's gotten to the point where it's life-threatening. She suspects that the person who benefits the most from the Duchess's death are Baron Isidor and Wederick. Rishi has to find solid evidence so that the Duchess doesn't hastily make statements suspecting the Baron. Meanwhile, Baron Isidor visits his sister, spying on her condition. He even tells her that she must have been discreet with her symptoms from Viscount Farrellman. He might as well confess that he is indeed the one who's poisoning her. He sees that her teacup is different from his, which is why the Duchess calmly says that it is a tea gifted by the assistant of the Viscount. Though actually, it is a prescribed medicine. Rishi specifically instructs her not to tell what it actually is, because the existence of that medicine will allow them to deduce the symptoms the Duchess is having. The Baron's curiosity grows for the rumored assistant, so he tries to arrange a meal for the three of them, which the Duchess instantly declines since she and Rishi will be having dinner themselves to see if the medication works. Her coldness just makes the Baron angrier than he already is. Meanwhile, Wederick is having a conversation with Aryan, trying to manipulate him into losing weight and eating just apples. But Aryan is rather at ease, drinking with the approval of Rishi. Even Wederick is curious about the girl he once thought was a noble lady, who turns out to be the new assistant of the Viscount. So he tells Aryan that he would like to see Rishi for the sake of them being relatives. Aryan boldly declines, telling him that although it was the Viscount who signed the deal with Sirius, she's his and has the right to deny such access. Wederick is caught off guard with such aggressiveness from Aryan and uses that opportunity to coax him into losing weight. He tells him that Rishi will be disappointed and leave. Hearing the word leave, Aryan immediately agrees to this secret plan. Rishi requests the Duchess to eliminate seafood from their diet because hippus flowers, which have a fishy flavor, can only be added to seafood. To avoid poison, she prepares a menu for both Aryan and the Duchess in case they need to travel. The Duchess notices that Aryan is not eating, which concerns Rishi. She remembers that he and Wederick were just playing together in the afternoon and asks him if he's heard anything. Rishi then considers how to inspire him again. Meanwhile, she asks DL if he can help her plant kippers in the greenhouse. It's a very rare plant, but with his help as a member of the Pheromone Trade Union, Rishi knows it's possible to be discreet about its existence. She also asks him to hang a doll in the greenhouse and leave it on the table in her room, instructing him not to lock the room door for a while. For a moment, DL can't understand her reasoning, but he realizes that Rishi doesn't do useless things. Curiously, he decides to follow her orders, expecting to understand the reason later. Rishi tries to unravel the mysterious conversation between Aryan and Wederick, even asking Aryan if she can meet Wederick, which he dislikes. He accuses her of being a womanizer for being close to DL and planning to meet Wederick too. Seriously, Aryan can't see that he's obviously jealous. Rishi is puzzled, but Aryan continues to accuse her of being a womanizer, but says that if she stays by his side, it doesn't matter. He then extends his hand to her as a sign of going to bed. She asks him who he trusts more, her or Wederick, trying to change his mind about whatever they discussed that made him refuse to eat. She reminds him of who she is and who he is, and that no one else's opinion is more important than his. Aryan understands and tells her he'll engrave this wisdom in his heart. They then exchange their goodnights. Rishi finds herself at a noble party, confused as to why a commoner like her is there. She realizes she's in a stunning gown and appears to be a 13-year-old girl. Standing from afar on the outside balcony, Rishi sees a seemingly cold man. He notices her, grabs her tightly, and appears angered by something. He asks her if she had a good time dancing with the beggar crown prince, or the ravenous wolf-like boy, as he likes to call him, who allegedly had his hand on her waist. He closes the distance and whispers personal questions, insulting her for being promiscuous in a seductive way, and tells her the most important thing is that she does what he says. A sudden noise from the party inside catches her attention. A bang at her door wakes her up from the nightmare. DL, shocked, reports to her that just as she told him, the greenhouse key is missing. Though still curious about her nightmare, they hurriedly go to the greenhouse. Rather shocked, Rishi seems fine, as if she expects such a thing to happen. She even compliments DL's skills, observing that the trees have grown quickly in such a short period of time. She has a hobby of calling DL slave, which confuses him. She tells him the next job is to hide and wait for the criminal to arrive. Within the sacks of fertilizers? Poor DL, he surely is confused. She tells him it will most likely be at twilight after Kippa's fragrance has faded. She gives him a one-time use messenger magic ring he can use to call her once somebody arrives. Meanwhile, the Duchess, Rishi, and Aryan are having a walk. Rishi is not sure why she's standing in the middle and holding their hands. I thought it's only me that thinks they look funny for some reason. The Duchess suddenly asks Aryan if it's okay if he can't see Wederick anymore, which he agrees to since they've already been together this afternoon horse riding. He defeated both Wederick and Zekil. Hearing that Aryan rode a horse and won shocks the Duchess and makes her proud. On the other hand, Rishi is yapping about how she hadn't supported him and tells him that next time she'll be there rooting for him and only for him. Girl needs to be arrested. She doesn't know how her words affect him. Suddenly, the ring on Rishi's hand glows, indicating that DL is signaling her. She brings them with her to the greenhouse. She sees the door open, which she's sure she locked before leaving. She charges inside the greenhouse looking for the intruder and sees a maid stealing her kippus. The maid trembles in fear, unable to form a word. At that moment, Rishi is excited about finally having evidence Baron Isidore can't deny. In a lot of ways, Rishi corners the maid with her crime. She tells her that after the seafood was eliminated from their diet, they couldn't control the fishy scent of the hippus flowers, nor could they drink it in a short time. The kippus fruit that could get rid of that scent appeared in the greenhouse. They want to be greedy and use it as a new way to administer the poison. Trembling, the maid confesses that she just followed orders. Rishi explains everything to the Duchess and Aryan, who are both shocked. A grim and dark aura overtakes the Duchess's face as she orders DL to call Duke Hoken for questioning. Facing Rishi, her expression softens. She hugs Rishi and thanks her. The real culprit, however, is not caught so easily. The maid commits suicide by biting her tongue as soon as the torture begins. Her information remains unknown, and the person who recommended her, the Viscount's last assistant, has disappeared. As the new assistant, Rishi realizes this won't be easy and that she may also be in danger. DL tells her how cool she was today, noting that even Aryan's eyes twinkled as he looks at her, despite not knowing the details. They continue to talk about what happened. DL shares that the Baron directly handled the Viscount's daughter when the Viscountess gave birth prematurely in the Baron's territory. The Viscount never saw his daughter. He only heard that the baby was blonde and had green eyes. That's why he's checking all the 13-year-old girls with the same description. All the puzzle pieces fit together. Rishi realizes it's no coincidence that the poison of the hippus was used. Baron Isidore is far craftier than she thought. Meanwhile, news of Melanie, the maid, being arrested and taking her own life reaches the Baron's house. Baron Isidore and Wederick are curious whether Melanie was arrested for merely stealing or poisoning. Wederick tells them that they still have Esther and Cain, but he told them to go into hiding for a bit. The Baron remains calm, thinking that Aryan is still young, so they have enough time. However, hearing about Aryan's changes because of the new assistant, the Baron realizes they must pay attention to her. He suggests Wederick meet her, recognizing that she's not an ordinary person for a 13-year-old girl. If she's there, it will be hard for them to place new people in the castle, so they need to get rid of her. Not surprised in the slightest, Rishi might as well tell the Duchess beforehand that these people kept trying to feed her son something that made him sick. Luckily, most people in the mansion believe the Duchess disposed of the thief. Rishi is concerned about the Duke's reputation if the punishment is too harsh, and she also thinks it's not naturally kind. But the Duchess assures her that she can make those who just moved to the mansion be more careful, especially since the real mastermind behind all of this still hasn't been caught. Rishi asks the Duchess to conduct blood tests more carefully more frequently, particularly for Aryan. The Duchess is shocked to hear that Aryan might be in a similar situation, but Rishi can't reveal her suspicions about a certain individual. The Duchess thanks her again and asks her to stay in the Duke's mansion to take care of Aryan. She even tells Rishi that once Aryan grows up, she'll make her the main doctor of the mansion, not minding the Viscount since he just came to find his daughter. Rishi feels overwhelmed, but when the Duchess asks if she wants anything, she tells the Duchess she wants one thing: to find her family. Without hesitation, the Duchess agrees to announce it to the whole empire, recognizing that everyone needs family. She even offers to be a mother to Rishi if she needs one. The idea of a commoner being a daughter of a great noble freaks Rishi out. It seems impossible in any other universe for me as well. That there sure is a flex. Way to go, Rishi! Still processing what she heard from the Duchess, Rishi sees Aryan and Wederick playing tennis. She cheers for Aryan, encouraging him. Aryan scores immediately after, but petty Wederick argues it as a transgression, suggesting Aryan broke the rule. Seeing how Wederick insults Aryan, Rishi charges at them furiously. Wederick and Rishi start to argue, but as soon as Wederick gets rude to her, Aryan slides in between them, protecting her. He warns Wederick and asserts his power as the next master, declaring Wederick's behavior unacceptable, especially on his territory and toward his person. His person? This normally sounds possessive, but why does it give me butterflies? Meanwhile, Rishi is in tears seeing Aryan mature. She even thinks he's growing up too fast. Her Aryan has changed. Wederick is speechless at how a commoner is more important than him. He's even more speechless every time Rishi flaunts how beautiful and smart she is. Aryan warns him not to behave impolitely to Rishi and turns his back on him, leaving Wederick angrier than ever. Wederick tells the Baron about his encounter with Rishi and how Aryan acted around her. Is he telling his mom about his boo-boo? The Baron tells him to endure because if their plan succeeds, the entire Sirius territory will be theirs. He then calls the Viscount's wife and their daughter. The Baron is sure the daughter could not survive or find the Viscount if he survived. On the other hand, the Viscount returns after a long time, alone again. DL can't help but comment on the many bags filled with all sorts of things the Viscount brought. Many is an understatement. I mean, I think he just decided to bring everything his eyes laid on. The Viscount tells him he picked them up somewhere, which DL immediately concludes that they're for Rishi. It's very obvious since in the duchy, Rishi is the only one who uses such things. The Viscount finds out that Rishi is searching for her biological parents just as he is looking for his daughter. Meanwhile, Rishi is frustrated that although Aryan is better than before, he still has intermittent seizures and dizziness. She can't figure out the cause or cure. Fortunately, the Baron hasn't done anything strange since that day. She wonders if there's a bigger threat backing behind him. DL calls her and announces the Viscount's arrival, so they go together. But they see Aryan, who's about to ask her to read a book with him. He asks if she will be back, since he can't sleep without her, something which she denies is true. Rishi can't help but think Aryan is like a baby. Afterward, she greets the Viscount on his return. The Viscount tells her she's arrived at the right time because he's throwing something away, so she can take whatever she likes. He's still pretending not to care. How cute. But instead of fancy dresses, an herb catches Rishi's eyes, the so-called soft grass. A few days later, she has already investigated how soft grass affects the environment and linked it to Aryan's symptoms. But if she wants to use the treatment, she has to go to Erbia. Aryan is only 14 years old. She's afraid something might happen to the sole heir of Sirius. If they go, she doesn't know if the Baron will do anything. He needs to go as quickly as possible. Even before Rishi finishes explaining, the Viscount sees how important this is to her. He pats her head and tells her he will inform the madam and proudly says she did a great job. Being sweet to each other is unusual for both of them, so they feel embarrassed, trying to be nonchalant. DL can't help but comment on how similar they are. Am I crazy, or are these two actually related? Everyone gathers, the Duchess, Aryan, and others waiting for the serious news that Rishi and the Viscount have to share. The Viscount explains that Rishi has discovered the remedy for Aryan's illness. He further reveals that a certain herb named soft grass grows in Erbia. However, the Duke's environment cannot provide enough of this herb to cure Aryan's illness, so Aryan must undergo continuous treatment in Erbia for the next 5 years. Though they expect the Duchess to find this difficult, she sees it as the best solution for now, fully trusting their expertise. Meanwhile, Aryan wants to appear strong and confident in front of Rishi and the others, so he declares that he is willing to go because he trusts Rishi. Unbeknownst to them, Rishi needs to take Aryan away quickly because the sea route might be blocked by pirates in 5 years, until Prince Jade eradicates them. They won't be able to travel to Erbia or communicate via letters. However, the priority is for Aryan to grow up healthy. I'm so relieved he's going to be safe and away from the awful influence of that cousin. While preparing Aryan's things, Rishi discovers that Wederick has been secretly giving him something to eat. Concerned that these might be unhealthy, she advises leaving the sweets behind. Suddenly, Aryan asks if Rishi can lie beside him, a surprising request. Unable to resist his dazzling eyes and knowing she won't see him for a long time, she lies down beside him. This becomes a memorable moment for Aryan. He asks her never to forget him and their unique bond, incomparable to friendship. As they hold hands, they seal the promise to think of each other over the next 5 years. They should just consider themselves engaged. Rishi finds herself lying in bed, her appearance transformed into her adult self, holding the hand of the adult Aryan. Who, mind you, is a very charming man at that. He repeatedly asks why she is leaving him after thinking only of her for 5 years. Now that he's finally met her, she tells him she is going to resign. He kisses her hands, insisting he can't live without her. Embarrassed, Rishi can see Aryan is determined to seduce her because he believes if he doesn't, she will respond coldly, driving him crazy. Just then, Rishi wakes up from this strange dream. The day arrives for Aryan's departure, and Rishi can't help feeling sad, knowing the boy will have to live independently until he grows up. She specifically requests that the maids and knights accompanying him have all worked in the Duke's mansion for more than 10 years. As she watches Aryan's boat fade into the distance, she thinks of her next task, finding evidence to prove that Baron Isidore is the culprit before he uses other tricks. That afternoon, she asks the ever-excited DL to find certain items, handing him a list. Rishi attempts to analyze the ingredients and preservatives in the biscuits Wederick gave to Aryan, but it proves more difficult than she anticipated. She recalls the rebellion that took place before Aryan's return, realizing she must send as many letters as possible before the route is cut off. While writing a letter, she remembers his naive face and emphasizes that he should not be misled by anyone, urging him to remain dignified and confident. As she predicted, not long after Aryan left, the sea routes were blocked. Only short messages can be exchanged by doves. Once, a magic device briefly connects them, but the signal is poor and they can't talk. She only notes that 16-year-old Aryan's voice has changed. For the past 5 years, she monitors the Duchess's condition, and Baron Isidore visits less often. Rishi herself grows more beautiful over the years. The Viscount visits and marvels at how quickly time has passed, observing Rishi's growth. He discovers that Rishi's designated birthday is in June, the same month as his daughter was born. Sadly, no miracle happens for Ferelman. DL even contemplates the idea that his daughter might not have green eyes and blonde hair. That's an idea there! Can't they see she's the exact spitting image of the Viscount? Rishi encourages him not to give up, sharing that she is also searching for her parents with the same determination. She tells him to think of things he can do once he finds her, like being there on her wedding day. At lightning speed, the Viscount transitions into a protective father who won't allow his daughter to get married. Poor girl, she has a very sensitive father! On a breezy afternoon, the Duchess and Duke of Jade share a casual conversation. The Viscountess beams with excitement about her son's improving health. However, the Duke seems less than pleased, masking his discontent with cold indifference. What schemes could he be brewing this time? At the Duke's mansion, DL knocks on Rishi's door, capturing her attention. As he steps inside, she asks him to attend an auction on her behalf. This isn't just any auction. It features a dragon's nail, a rare artifact highly coveted by researchers. This extraordinary item could pave the way for a groundbreaking bloodline testing technique. As their conversation unfolds, Rishi recalls the Crown Prince, who once ordered her execution for aiding a rebellious camp as their doctor. The memory lingers like a shadow, hinting at a deeper story yet to be told. Later that day, the Duchess speaks with Rishi about Adrian's imminent return. 5 long years have passed since they last saw him, and they can't help but wonder how much he has changed. The Duchess confesses her regret for not being there as he grew up, a sadness etched into her voice. Despite this, their shared excitement overpowers their worries. They both agree. The joy of seeing Adrian again will outweigh everything. How we've all waited for this moment! Elsewhere, a tall, striking young man practices his swordsmanship with sharp precision. His every move exudes power and elegance, making it impossible to look away. Talking to his assistant, he casually dismisses the Crown Prince's recent victory over the pirates, arrogantly claiming he could have done far better. With a smirk, he announces his readiness to return to the Duke's castle. And guess what? It's Adrian! At last, the long-awaited reunion is near. The anticipation is almost unbearable! Rishi gazes at her reflection, admiring how her maid has skillfully enhanced her features. Esther, the new maid who replaced Jenny after her mother fell ill, has quickly made an impression. Esther's fondness for Rishi is evident as she warmly comments on how much more stunning Rishi has become over the years, her features now sharper and more elegant. Rishi, blushing from the compliment, feels grateful for being treated like nobility despite her humble origins. Their conversation soon shifts to Rishi's plan for the day, bidding farewell to the Viscount as he embarks on a new mission. Inwardly, Rishi feels the weight of time pressing upon her. She must help the Viscount find his long-lost daughter. Before she leaves, Esther cheerfully suggests stopping by a restaurant known for its cherry desserts, knowing it's Rishi's favorite. Rishi's eyes light up with delight, touched by Esther's thoughtfulness. Something about Esther feels suspicious. Could she be hiding something? Later, Rishi sees the Viscount off. As he shares reminders and tasks, especially with Adrian's return, an idea suddenly occurs to him. Why not officially become Rishi's foster father? While Rishi appreciates his kindness, she feels that she no longer needs a guardian now that she's grown. She's reminded of her place, a commoner living in a duke's castle, and the reality stings. The Viscount, sensing the heaviness in the air, lightens the mood by telling her that he just feels guilty about assigning her the bloodline testing research. Rishi reassures him, expressing her own desire to uncover her parents' identities through the project. Their conversation takes an amusing turn as they playfully boast about how they would treat their families if reunited. The Viscount vows to pamper his daughter like a princess, while Rishi promises to show boundless devotion to her parents. Their friendly competition escalates into laughter, each insisting they would do a better job. It's such a heartwarming moment, but I can't help wondering about the twist that's surely coming. As the Viscount departs with their heartfelt blessings, Rishi and DL head home, reminiscing about the young Adrian. Their nostalgia is interrupted by Esther, who delivers shocking news. A man searching for his daughter, missing for 18 years, has arrived. The man searching for his long-lost daughter introduces himself as Hans Smith. Rishi greets him warmly and begins the first step of the bloodline test, placing strands of their hair into a test tube filled with a special solution. To Rishi's amazement, the water's color intensifies, signaling a strong bloodline match. Observing the scene with quiet excitement, Esther stands nearby, her expression unreadable. Rishi's thoughts race as she wonders if Hans might truly be her father. She informs Hans that there are still 4 more steps to confirm if she is indeed Mary Smith, his missing daughter. Hans agrees to the process without hesitation, determined to uncover the truth. Unexpectedly, Hans offers Rishi a basket of cherries, mentioning that his daughters also adore them. Can this just be a coincidence? The gesture leaves Rishi speechless, her hope quietly blooming. Hans takes this moment to open up about his life, his wife, gravely ill and yearning to reunite with their daughter, and his dream of living peacefully with his entire family in Liwabelo village. His story stirs a whirlwind of emotions in Rishi, leaving her deep in thought. Later that day, DL finds Rishi in her study, finishing off the cherries Hans gave her. Noticing something unusual about her demeanor, he tries to change the subject, asking if she's ready for Adrian's homecoming. DL hesitates before confessing his unease about Adrian, who used to stare at him intensely as a child. He recalls how Adrian was friendly only toward Rishi, but kept a cold, distant demeanor with others. Rishi, however, brushes it off with a smile, insisting that Adrian is still adorable despite his quirks. Meanwhile, at Urbia Beach, pirates ambush a ship bound for Sirius. Unfortunately for them, Adrian is on board. With unparalleled skill, he swiftly eliminates the threat, leaving his companions in stunned silence. Zekel, his assistant, urges him to spare the pirates and hand them over to the authorities, but Adrian dismisses the idea as a waste of time. Zekel watches in awe as Adrian, once a boy who struggled to wield a sword, now stands as a fearsome and commanding figure. His strength, precision, and unrelenting resolve make him the strongest man of the ship. Ugh, the transformation! Breathtaking! The rumor of a butcher arriving at the Duke's castle to find his daughter spreads like wildfire, soon reaching the Duchess herself. Concerned, the Duchess invites Rishi for a private conversation, eager to hear her plans if Hans Smith turns out to be her father. The Duchess hopes Rishi will remain as the castle's doctor, but Rishi, deep in thought, has her own resolve. Whether Hans is her father or not, she plans to stay until Adrian inherits the land. Afterward, she dreams of living with her real family, cherishing the normal life she never had as a child. The Duchess, understanding Rishi's longing, offers a solution: a specialized carriage that will allow her to continue serving the castle even after leaving. Flattered by the Duchess's thoughtfulness, Rishi promises to consider the offer. But the surprises don't end there. The Duchess suggests assigning Rishi her very own assistant. The idea leaves Rishi flustered. An assistant for the assistant? What a twist! Yet the Duchess insists, leaving Rishi no choice but to agree. Later, Esther arrives in Rishi's room with a list of potential candidates. Among the names, one stands out like a bolt of lightning: Aryan Krilson. Rishi's heart skips a beat. Aryan is a known ally of Wederick, someone she has always regarded with suspicion. In that instant, everything clicks. Adrian's imminent return, Hans Smith's sudden appearance, and now Aryan Krilson? The pieces fall into place. Memories of Esther's casual offers to do her nails resurface, making Rishi realize there's more to the maid than meets the eye. Determined not to be outplayed, Rishi decides to take control of the situation. She chooses Aryan as her assistant, fully aware of his connection to Wederick. If the enemy wants to infiltrate her life, she'll let them, but on her terms. No one will use her weaknesses against her. This time, she's the one holding the cards. Who's playing who now? The Queen is ready for the game. The long-awaited day arrives, and Hans Smith stands in the Duke's castle, determined to prove his claim as Rishi's father. He even brings gifts, hoping to charm her, but Rishi sees right through his ploy. Watching the man who insists he is her father, Rishi feels a deep pang of betrayal. Hans scans the room nervously. The Duchess sits quietly, her knight standing guard beside her, while DL watches intently. Even Esther, the enigmatic maid, is present, her expression unreadable. The Duchess, though composed, wrestles with her thoughts. She has always been protective of Rishi and supportive of her endeavors, and the idea of someone trying to manipulate her fills her with anger. The fourth step of the test begins. Hans and Rishi place their hands on the magic stone, a device that glows if their magic is compatible. To everyone's surprise, the stone lights up. A convincing act, or so it seems. Despite the revelation, Rishi remains steadfast and requests a more advanced test, comparing their blood through a new technique. Hans hesitates, his confidence faltering as beads of sweat form on his brow. When the test is complete, the truth is undeniable. The results confirm they are not related. As Rishi confronts Hans and Esther, accusing them of deception, Hans panics and tries to flee. But Huyken, the Duchess's loyal knight, is quick to apprehend him. In the scuffle, Hans's wig falls off, exposing yet another layer of their lies. The shocking truth unravels. Hans and Esther conspire to trick Rishi into believing he was her father, even using a fake magical item to support their claim. The Duchess's fury is palpable as her eyes bore into Esther, the maid who deceived everyone. But before the Duchess can act, Esther collapses to the floor, blood spilling from her mouth. The Duchess, unshaken, commands her knights to secure Hans and remove Esther's body, vowing to personally uncover the full extent of their schemes. Justice is coming for those who dare to toy with the castle, and with Rishi's trust. Serves them right! Rishi feels a deep sense of disappointment as she reflects on her situation. A cycle of fleeting hope and crushing setbacks. The possibility that she may have fallen victim to scammers weighs heavily on her, a misstep that could cost her everything, even her life. But in the midst of her despair, the Duchess steps in with compassion, offering a safe space for Rishi to let her guard down. The burden of strength, after all, can become its own weakness. Overwhelmed, Rishi finds solace in the Duchess's embrace, her tears a quiet release of the turmoil within. Once her emotions have subsided, Rishi assures the Duchess she's fine. But in her heart, she knows the battle is far from over. Determined to outmaneuver her enemies, she resolves to enlist Aryan as her assistant. Unaware of Rishi's deeper plans, the Duchess agrees and, in a gesture of concern, suggests Rishi take a day to unwind in the City of Freedom, a vibrant tourist haven known for its lively markets. Rishi initially declines, citing her research, but when she realizes this trip could lead to a meeting with the Crown Prince, she changes her mind and accepts the offer. That evening, Rishi retreats to her study. Despite the promise of rest, she sets to work, writing a letter to the Viscount. She updates him on her progress and shares the exciting news that Aryan will return in 3 days. She also warns him about the scheming scammers determined to exploit any vulnerability. Her thoughts are interrupted by a knock at the door. DL enters with news that the Duchess has arranged for a servant to accompany Rishi on her trip. Though she initially hesitates, Rishi realizes she'll need someone who can help her present herself as a proper noblewoman, especially if she's to meet the Crown Prince. Sensing her resolve, DL promises to find someone who fits the role perfectly. As the day ends, Rishi's lingering sadness is softened by the thought of Aryan's return. The warmth of that hope reignites her determination to rise above her challenges and face what lies ahead. In the stillness of the night, the Duchess gently knocks on Rishi's door, seeking her company. She steps into the room and softly asks Rishi to lie down, a request Rishi complies with. The moment stirs Rishi's memories of times from the past, when she was the one watching over the Duchess as she slept. Earlier that evening, the Duchess had received Huyken's report. Hans acted purely out of greed and seemed unaware of the true mastermind behind their scheme. Before visiting Rishi, she instructed Huyken to assign a trusted knight to guard Rishi on her rest day. She also gave a grim order. Hans and Esther's bodies were to be displayed at the city gate, a stern warning to all. Back in the present, the Duchess shares the news of Hans's ignorance about the mastermind, leaving her to wonder who could be pulling the strings. The Duchess then opens up about Roman, a loyal figure who has dedicated his life to protecting her, yet she admits to feeling distant from him. In a rare moment of vulnerability, the Duchess expresses her affection for Rishi, leaving her blushing. With a warm smile, the Duchess urges her to rest. The tender gesture fills Rishi with a comforting warmth. As Rishi drifts into slumber, the Duchess watches over her, her mind weighed down by concern. Thoughts of an offer that Aryan might accept linger, intensifying her unease. In her dreams, Rishi finds herself tormented by the image of a father, a haunting figure that turns her sleep into a nightmare. She awakens with a start, and the Duchess, alarmed by her distress, immediately tries to comfort her. The ordeal with Hans seems to have left its mark on Rishi's psyche. Elsewhere, Aryan and his companions travel tirelessly towards the dukedom. Though exhaustion grips the group, Aryan alone remains unfazed. As his companions rest, he decides to press on. His urgency is clear. He longs for even the briefest glimpse of Rishi. Oh, the thought of it! Heart racing, feet kicking. What a moment! DL can't help but marvel at Rishi's appearance as she steps into the carriage bound for the City of Freedom. Draped in elegance, she looks every bit the noble lady, a testament to DL's success in finding a skilled maid to prepare her. Yet beneath Rishi's poised exterior lies a quiet fear. The City of Freedom's reputation for discriminating against commoners gnaws at her. She wonders if her disguise will hold or if she'll face mockery in a place where appearances mean everything. As they arrive, all eyes are drawn to Rishi. She immediately becomes the center of attention, walking with DL at her side and a group of guards trailing behind. Her noble bearing, her refined look, no wonder the crowd can't stop staring. If I were there, I'd be captivated too. Rishi, wasting no time, asks DL with finding Prince Jade's whereabouts, the true reason for her visit. Ever loyal, DL promises to give it his all and heads off, agreeing to meet her in a coffee shop in an hour. Left to explore, Rishi strolls through the bustling streets, her guards shadowing her every step. She begins to think about buying a gift for Aryan, something special to show her affection. As she deliberates on the perfect present, a commotion catches her attention. A group of navvies is accusing an elderly woman of scamming them in a game. Intrigued, Rishi steps closer, only to feel a strange familiarity with the old lady. Who could she be? Determined to resolve the conflict, Rishi proposes a solution. If the granny is guilty, she must choose between eating poisonous chira flowers, returning the money, or speaking privately with Rishi. There's something about this mysterious woman that sparks curiosity. She has to be significant. Just as Rishi hopes, the elderly woman agrees to talk with her for a while after Rishi pays off the scammed money. The mysterious granny introduces herself as Consia Melonia, a gypsy who has traveled back in time using forbidden magic. Intrigued, Rishi listens closely as Mrs. Consia reveals her knowledge of magic powers and their connection to glimpsing the past and future. She explains that it's possible to see fragments of one's future through dreams, a revelation that captivates Rishi, considering the dreams she's been having over the past few months. As Mrs. Consia prepares to leave, Rishi grabs her hand, her voice filled with urgency as she pleads for help in finding her biological parents through a crystal ball. The granny dismisses her request, explaining that the crystal ball is no longer in her possession. Determined, Rishi offers to take care of Mrs. Consia if she ever falls ill, hoping to win her favor. But the peculiar woman stands firm, refusing to involve herself further with Rishi. Despite her disappointment, Rishi can't help but laugh when she notices her bracelet has disappeared, now in the hands of the sly, enigmatic granny. Just then, DL arrives with news that the Crown Prince is at a nearby coffee shop. Without hesitation, Rishi grabs DL and rushes towards their destination, her guards trailing close behind. But as they reach the entrance, an attendant blocks their way, declaring that commoners are not allowed inside, a rule strictly enforced for the noble exclusive establishment. Rishi's heart sinks. After all the effort she put into looking like a noble lady, right down to her guards and demeanor, she is still recognized as a commoner. But then, the attendant clarifies, leaving Rishi stunned yet relieved. He's referring to DL, not her. DL's simple attire is what's causing the misunderstanding. Quick on her feet, Rishi smooths over the situation with her usual charm, persuading the staff to let them both in. Rishi successfully enters the coffee shop, her usual charm masking the tension from earlier. Beside her, a sulking DL broods over what she told the attendant, his irritation plain on his face. Ever playful, Rishi tries to soften his mood with sweet words, their dynamic as endearing as ever. As they step further inside, Rishi's eyes land on the Crown Prince. With a clever eye for strategy, she positions them close enough to be noticed. Once seated, Rishi and DL shift into work mode, prepared to execute their plan. DL begins by pretending to suffer from a rare eye condition similar to the Crown Prince's. Playing her part, Rishi assumes the role of the skilled doctor she is, advising DL on treatment. She mentions Mystera eye disease, a rare disease found in the southern region, subtly hinting at her expertise. Her words are crafted to draw the prince's attention, suggesting her capability to treat such cases. Their act draws the interest of Kanes Rento Saibaloni, a naval medical officer who approaches them. He shares that one of his patients suffers from the same condition but has shown no signs of improvement. Seizing the moment, Rishi discovers the disease in detail, offering her insights. Their conversation is interrupted when the Crown Prince himself steps forward, introducing himself as Mr. Kanes' patient. Rishi immediately adjusts her demeanor, gracefully addressing Prince Jade with the poise and decorum she's gleaned from her books. When the prince requests treatment, Rishi willingly agrees, eager to prove herself. Examining his condition closely, she concludes that the prince suffers from a level 3 case of Mystera eye disease. Her observations and suggestions impress everyone, and even Mr. Kines grows curious about her identity. Ever discreet yet truthful, Rishi answers in her own clever way. As a token of her commitment, Rishi offers the rare herbs she brought with her, explaining their potential to aid in the prince's treatment. The gesture doesn't go unnoticed, and the crown prince expresses his gratitude. Rishi, ever modest, simply states that it's a doctor's duty to help those in need. Then the crown prince offers Rishi a reward for her assistance. Without hesitation, she requests the opportunity to meet him again. A bold yet calculated move, ensuring her plans stay in motion. I can't wait to see how things unfold for Rishi. Prince Jade is struck silent after hearing Rishi's wish. Rising from his seat, he leaves with a mysterious remark lingering in the air, his expression unreadable. But Rishi's words seem to haunt him. Later, the crown prince finds himself obsessively reflecting on his encounter, turning to Mr. Kines for advice on how he acted around her. Blushing furiously, he nervously lifts the book he's been reading, Encyclopedia for Returning Soldiers Who Are Not Good at Dating. Could he be more adorable? Mr. Kines, shocked to see the usually composed prince so flustered, reassures him. It becomes clear that Prince Jade struggles when it comes to women. Despite having had a destined fiancé in his youth, their time together was tragically brief before her untimely death. Since then, he has kept his distance from women, even noble ladies, leading to rumors that he outright dislikes them. Yet here he is, earnestly wondering how to approach Rishi. The crown prince confesses to Mr. Kines that Rishi's sparkling blue eyes have been etched in his mind, even though his partial blindness makes such details rare for him to notice. His thoughts swirl with questions. Does Rishi like him? What did her wish truly mean? These musings bring a fresh blush to his cheeks. Determined to act, he asks Mr. Kines to investigate Rishi's background. His resolve shines as he declares he will personally invite her to the victory party, regardless of her status. Prince Jade might just be falling hard and fast. Is a love triangle brewing? We can't wait to see what's next! Meanwhile, DL's curiosity gets the better of him. He presses Rishi about her true intentions, only for her to brush him off, telling him to trust her plan. Her focus seems to be on her next encounter with the crown prince, and she's clearly up to something. As they prepare to leave for the dukedom, Rishi remembers a thoughtful gesture she must make. She insists on stopping to find a gift for Aryan before their departure. Unbeknownst to Rishi, dark events are unfolding in the Duchy of Sirius. The bodies of Hans and Esther are hanging publicly, casting a grim shadow over the land. This is the scene that greets Aryan as he finally arrives. Huygen is taken aback upon seeing Aryan, noting how much the young man has grown to resemble the late Duke. Wasting no time, Aryan seeks an audience with the Duchess. The two discuss the gruesome display at the gates, with Aryan subtly suggesting that his mother's actions might have been less harsh. The Duchess, in turn, can't help but wonder if the cold, calculating aura Aryan now carries reflects how he has truly changed over the past 5 years. In a conversation about Rishi, both Aryan and the Duchess seem deeply invested. The Duchess reveals her intention to adopt Rishi as her daughter, recognizing the invaluable contribution she has made to Sirius. However, this proposal doesn't sit well with Aryan. His opposition is immediate and resolute, and he voices his disapproval to his mother, his frustration clearly evident. As their heated exchange continues, Rishi arrives at the dukedom. A servant rushes to her, announcing Adrian's return. Without hesitation, she heads straight to the dining hall, her heart brimming with excitement to finally reunite with the person she treasures most. But her joy is short-lived. Upon reaching the hall, she overhears the argument between Aryan and the Duchess. From her perspective, it feels as though Aryan doesn't see her as family. Oh, how heartbreaking! Moments like this remind us why communication is so important. Overwhelmed with pain, Rishi quietly turns away, her excitement replaced by sadness. DL notices her gloomy expression and watches her with concern. The two remain in this tense moment until Aryan steps out of the dining hall and spots them. Rishi is stunned. The man standing before her hardly resembles the soft, vulnerable child she cared for years ago. Struggling to find her words, she's left speechless, her emotions a whirlwind. Meanwhile, DL abruptly leaves, creating an awkward silence between Rishi and Adrian. What will happen next for these two? The tension is undeniable, and I can't wait to see how their story unfolds. Adrian has grown into someone surprisingly direct and expressive. The moment he finds himself alone with Rishi, he wastes no time confessing how much he has missed her. He even marvels at how beautifully she has grown. But despite his heartfelt words, Rishi remains cautious, her earlier doubts making her wary of his intentions. To steer the conversation, Rishi gently shifts the topic and asks about Adrian's health. He happily shares that he no longer suffers from fevers or seizures, a testament to how much stronger he's become over the years. Hearing this, Rishi offers to give him a quick health checkup to ensure everything is in order. Adrian readily agrees, and together they head to the laboratory. However, the atmosphere shifts when Adrian notices a men's shirt on the desk. Curiosity piqued, he asks Rishi about it, and she shyly admits that it's a gift she intended for him. His face lights up with a bright smile, cheeks flushed with delight. The sight warms Rishi's heart, and for a moment, the tension between them melts away. Adrian's excitement gets the better of him as he insists on trying the shirt immediately. To Rishi's utter shock, he casually removes his upper garments right in front of her, revealing his well-built physique. Rishi is left frozen, her cheeks burning as she struggles to keep her composure. Unbothered by her reaction, Adrian puts on the shirt, only to find it comically small for his broad frame. The buttons strain dangerously, threatening to pop at any moment. Embarrassed, Rishi promises to get him a properly sized shirt, but Adrian refuses to part with the gift. He insists on keeping it, cherishing the thought behind it despite the poor fit. In the end, they reach a compromise, with Adrian agreeing to treasure the shirt. As Rishi proceeds with his health examination, her worries are eased. She's relieved to confirm that Adrian is indeed in great shape, both literally and figuratively. But just as the mood settles, Adrian drops an unexpected invitation. He boldly asks Rishi to sleep beside him. Oh my goodness, Adrian is proving to be quite the flirt. My heart can't handle this. What will Rishi do next? Adrian's bold invitation leaves Rishi more guarded than ever, firmly convinced that the line between them should remain unblurred. As Adrian tries to lighten the mood with a bit of humor, his eyes land on a jar in Rishi's laboratory. To his surprise, it holds the cookies he gave her years ago, preserved in liquid. It turns out Rishi had been diligently studying the ingredients, eager to understand what he ate back then. Despite making little progress due to the scarcity of information, her dedication as Adrian's doctor is evident. Touched by her unwavering commitment, Adrian can't help but feel moved by her efforts. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Adrian reaches out and gently touches Rishi's hand. But she immediately leans back, brushing off his gesture, reminding him that it's all part of her job as a doctor. Ugh, the tension. Will these two ever find their way to each other? The next day, DL visits Rishi in her study, concerned about how she's holding up. Word of the argument between Adrian and the Duchess has spread throughout the mansion, stirring unease. But Rishi reassures DL, telling him it's better that Adrian has drawn a line between them. However, DL's worries run deeper. Adrian has tightened his grip on discipline throughout the mansion in response to the recent incident involving Esther and Hans. The staff tremble under his strict authority, but Rishi remains unfazed. She even comments to DL that despite his growth and commanding demeanor, Adrian is still the same smiling and friendly person she remembers. Their conversation is interrupted when DL announces that Rishi's new assistant has finally arrived. As Rishi prepares to meet her assistant, painful memories from her past life resurface. She recalls Aryan, the very person who turned her life into a nightmare. Back then, Rishi was forced to work as a doctor for a rebel camp, but tasked with creating beauty potions for Wedrick's fiancé while supplies for the dying were scarce. This then led her to execution, ordered by none other than Prince Jade. In the present, Rishi and Aryan come face to face once more. But this time, Rishi isn't the same helpless victim. She's determined to take her revenge. And we can't help but cheer her on. Go, Queen! A grueling test awaits Aryan as he strives to become Rishi's assistant. She commands him to make 50 Berkalia seeds in bloom within just 10 days. These flowers, known for their extreme sensitivity, require meticulous care. For Aryan, this means sacrificing sleep, less than 3 hours a night. A taste of his own medicine? We love to see it. Despite growing more frustrated, Aryan pushes forward, driven by his hidden agenda. His determination is fueled not by sincerity, but by his sinister schemes. DL observes Aryan's struggles and questions Rishi's seemingly harsh treatment of her new assistant. It's then that Rishi reveals the truth. Aryan is connected to Esther and Hans. Realizing the danger Aryan poses, DL becomes fiercely protective, vowing to do his part to safeguard Rishi and the Sirius estate. Meanwhile, Zekel and the rest of the squad arrive in Sirius. During his meeting with Adrian, Zekel casually offers to discard a worn-out shirt displayed on his desk, only to be met with a death glare from his master. Adrian declares that the shirt, a gift from Rishi, is the most treasured item in the entire manor. His devotion to Rishi couldn't be clearer. Their conversation is interrupted by a knock on the door. It's the Duchess, seeking a private word with Adrian. Zekel excuses himself, leaving mother and son to their discussion. The Duchess brings up Adrian's forthcoming inauguration, emphasizing that it should be a grand celebration once he feels prepared. However, her next proposal leaves Adrian visibly unsettled. She mentions once again her intention to adopt Rishi as her daughter. Adrian immediately opposes the idea, his disdain as clear as day. The Duchess grows frustrated with her son's reaction. Adrian, if you're going to keep protesting, you need to explain yourself. In an attempt to avoid further discussion on the matter, Adrian tells his mother to hold the inauguration sooner, hoping it will divert her attention from the adoption topic. Elsewhere, Viscount Ferelman receives a letter from Rishi detailing her encounter with scammers. The letter includes a heartfelt warning, urging the Viscount to avoid falling into the same trap. And it turns out, the Viscount had indeed been targeted by a similar scheme. But there's more. A second letter from Rishi arrives, asking the Viscount to become her godfather. Touched by the gesture, the Viscount is overwhelmed with excitement and emotion. He immediately halts all other matters, declaring that his goddaughter needs him. What a heartwarming moment! I can't wait to see the truth unfold in the chapters to come. Walking down an empty hallway, Rishi carries an armful of health supplements meant for her master. Suddenly, someone takes the load from her arms. It's none other than her master, Adrian. When Rishi explains that the supplements are for him, but shares about giving them to DL instead since Adrian seems to be doing well since his return from the south, Adrian strongly objects. He insists he's not feeling as healthy as he appears. This leads them to Adrian's room, where Rishi checks on him again. However, being so close to Adrian's well-built frame is overwhelming for her, and she struggles to keep her composure. Regaining her focus, she examines him only to confirm that he's perfectly fine. But Adrian refuses to let it go, insisting that he's unwell and hasn't been sleeping properly since his return. Touched by his vulnerability, Rishi decides to comfort him through the night by holding his hand. Yet, the tender moment takes an awkward turn when Adrian utters heartfelt words that remind Rishi of his lingering conversation with the Duchess. Hurt and confused, she pulls away, leaving Adrian bewildered and alone. The next morning, a pigeon arrives with a letter for Rishi. It's from Viscount Ferelman, confirming that he has agreed to become her godfather. Before she can fully process the news, a knock at the door reveals the Duchess. Gracious as ever, the Duchess tries to persuade Rishi to become her goddaughter instead. But Rishi proudly announces that the Viscount has already claimed the role. The Duchess is left visibly defeated by the Viscount. Meanwhile, Baron is seized with rage as he discusses his crumbling plans with his son Wederick. Furious that a mere commoner like Rishi has disrupted his schemes, the Baron vents his frustration. Wederick, ever conniving, proposes devious plans to regain control. They decide to begin targeting Huyken, the captain of Sirius's knights. This can only mean trouble ahead. Rishi finds herself in a vivid dream where Viscount Ferelman, Huyken, and Adrian gather in a tense confrontation. The chilling highlight? Adrian speaks of starting a rebellion. The dream takes a dark turn, jolting Rishi awake in a cold sweat as the fragments of her nightmare quickly slip away. A knock at her door pulls her from her daze. It's DL, and with renewed determination, Rishi rises, resolute on her mission. She won't let Adrian plunge into rebellion. Later, in the shadows near the mansion's greenhouse, Rishi and DL speak in hushed tones about their covert mission. DL reveals his ongoing efforts to lower Aryan's defenses, persistently engaging him in conversation. Recently, DL even attempted to bribe Aryan, who requested a meat pie. Within that pie, however, lay a cleverly concealed letter meant for contacting other spies. A clever move, but not enough to break the case. Back in the present, as Rishi and DL quietly watch over Aryan, a man with striking gray hair approaches. He's Kane, a member of the Order. Suspicion flares within Rishi as she contemplates his possible involvement in the mansion's sinister plots. As her thoughts race, a new idea sparks. She needs Adrian's help. After all, his ties to the Order could provide the insight they need. Late that evening, Rishi interrupts a clearly busy and irritable Adrian with a knock at his door. Just as he's about to snap, his frustration melts when he realizes it's her. His expression softens and he stands to greet her warmly. Taking her hand, he listens attentively, eager to hear her request. But Rishi has other concerns. Gently but firmly, she tells Adrian he shouldn't hold her hand so casually, especially considering the nature of their relationship. She pulls her hand away, leaving Adrian puzzled. Undeterred, Adrian flashes his signature charm and teases her, saying she's welcome to hold his hand whenever she wishes, even for reasons beyond examining him. Rishi, blushing furiously, can't believe his audacity. Inside, she's flustered, marveling at how Adrian has suddenly become so adept at making her heart race. Who knew he could be this smooth? Our leading man is definitely turning up the charm. Charming words alone can't win Rishi's heart. She values genuine actions. As she shares her request with Adrian, she asks if he knows Kane, a member of the Order. Adrian's mood shifts uneasily as he wonders why she's asking about him. Sensing his tension, Rishi quickly explains her suspicions about Kane's behavior, clearing any misunderstanding. Hearing this, Adrian's protective instincts kick in. He offers to be her partner in the undercover investigation, and their serious discussion begins. They suspect Kane might be plotting against Huyken, the captain of the Order. Since Kane oversees the weapons, they decide to keep a close eye on his actions to prevent any harm to the Great Knight. The following day, as part of their covert plan, Adrian brings Rishi to the Knight's training grounds. Zekel and the rest of the Knights can't hide their surprise at the future Duke's uncharacteristically soft demeanor toward the Doctor's assistant. Amid the bustling training field, Adrian finds himself captivated by Rishi. As she confidently introduces herself to the Knights, he marvels at how much she's grown, noticing the radiant charm in her every gesture. Deep down, he silently vows to protect her gentle smile at all costs. Determined to strengthen the duchy for its people, and especially for Rishi, Adrian approaches the training with renewed resolve. But before starting his sparring session with Huyken, he pointedly warns the knight not even to glance at Rishi, his possessiveness palpable. The knights, trembling at his intensity, can only nod in agreement. Adrian and Rishi's dynamic is nothing short of adorable, don't you think? Their chemistry is heating up. Adrian's morning swordsmanship training is a mesmerizing sight. His topless form glistening under the sun as he moves with precision and power. While Rishi can't help but admire her master's physique, she quickly reminds herself of the task at hand. Adrian is sticking to their plan, and she needs to do the same. As the session ends, Kane steps into the scene to retrieve Huyken's weapon. Later that evening, Rishi and Adrian slip into the armory for their investigation. The room is filled with an array of weapons, and Rishi's curiosity gets the better of her. She asks Adrian about his weapon, but he merely replies that he always keeps it close. Their exploration is cut short when the sound of approaching voices forces them to hide behind a rack of shields. 3 knights enter, their conversation quickly turning to complaints about Zekel and his squad. Adrian silently fumes, realizing he's been too lenient with the knights if they have time for such idle and petty talk. But he restrains himself, unwilling to disrupt Rishi's plan. As the knights chatter on, Rishi grows acutely aware of how close she is to Adrian, their personal space entirely non-existent. When the knights finally leave, Rishi tries to pull away, but Adrian tightens his hold, savoring the moment. As Rishi turns to face him, the atmosphere shifts, charged with unspoken emotions. Adrian cups her face gently, and Rishi feels her heart race like never before. It's an overwhelming realization. This intensity is unlike anything she's ever felt, even with DL, her longtime companion. But just as the moment deepens, Rishi abruptly pulls away, breaking the spell with a flustered suggestion to revise their plan. "Not today, Adrian. Better luck next time." Adrian lets out a quiet smirk, his own heart pounding as he watches her retreat. Shaking off the tension, he begins clearing the shields they used for cover, his mind still lingering on the stolen moment. On a tense evening, Kane sneaks into the armory with a sinister goal in mind: to sabotage Captain Huyken's armor. In his twisted thoughts, this is the perfect opportunity to secure Baroness Cedar's favor and guarantee himself a life of comfort. But his devious daydream is abruptly shattered when a woman's voice rings out, stopping him mid-act. Rishi steps forward with courage as she confronts Kane about his true intentions. Her bravery, however, is met with pure malice. Kane reveals his wickedness, hurling curses at her and swinging a hammer in an attempt to harm her. What a truly despicable man! Before Kane can strike, Adrian bursts into action. Like a knight in shining armor, he moves with blinding speed, pinning Kane to the ground in a heartbeat. The fury in Adrian's eyes burn bright. He's ready to end Kane's life right then and there, but Rishi urges Adrian to restrain his anger. Amid the chaos, Captain Hoaken arrives, stunned by the betrayal of someone he once trusted. His shock quickly gives way to gratitude as he learns how Rishi's bravery prevented Kane's vile plan. Moved by her actions, Hoaken kneels before Rishi, pledging his eternal loyalty to her, a vow he had previously reserved only for the late Duke of Sirius. Rishi is deeply honored by the gesture, realizing just how much respect and devotion she has earned. With powerful allies like Adrian Hoaken by her side, Rishi proves once again she's a force to be reckoned with. Regal he looks, the man remains stoic, as Rita is seemingly absent from the ceremony. Though revealed that she was invited to the inauguration, but had not yet shown. Actually, she was strolling about, admiring the flowers present in the scenery. Eventually, she runs into some guard who accompanied her to Freedom City. They exchange greetings, and the men are elated because Rita stopped the spy and saved their captain. They asked if she's in need of an escort, but Rita refuses. Actually, she's refusing to attend Erwin's inauguration, believing it's not an event for non-relatives or commoners. What do you mean, Rita? God, you're cordially invited! Anyway, another group of guards appear, and they share their happy sentiments about Rita. But all her good mood goes down the drain when she encounters Baron Isidore and Wedrick. She gets annoyed so much that she decides to take it out on something. And that something is Aryan, who she tortures by asking to prepare 100 Carapon grassroots per day for her research. Complaining as he might, he's desperate to become her assistant, so he'll do it anyway. Rita leaves, reminding him it's not so easy to become an assistant of a genius than to deceive one. Evening comes and Rita's visit by Ezekiel. The guard reports that Erwin has asked for her presence, and that he is there to escort her. The Duke isn't sick, as what Rita thinks, but had only asked for Rita. While in the hallway, Ezekiel confides that despite Rita being smart, she doesn't get Erwin's growing affection towards her, likening it to behaviors of southern beasts, especially their jealousy, which Erwin's prone to. But as mentioned, Rita's incredibly dense about this, merely retorting to whatever Ezekiel says. Defeated, he gives up, but reminds her that he did warn her. Ezekiel leads Rita to a garden, which is so beautiful in the moonlight that it makes Rita gasp. He leaves Rita to admire the flowers, and soon enough, Erwin arrives with a bouquet of flowers for Rita. Apparently, he heard Rita was sightseeing the inauguration flowers earlier, so he had them all gathered at the garden. He'd also prepared a little meal for the two of them, which consists of Rita's favorite snacks. Erwin attributes it to wanting her to eat dinner and proceeds to feed her himself, which Rita feels he'd get mad if she refused repeatedly. He soon mentions the inauguration and his sadness that Rita wasn't there. She confesses that it'll attract attention, her being a commoner and all. But Erwin argues that everyone knows her contributions to his well-being, so it wouldn't be unnatural. They reminisce about his journey as a sickly kid to becoming the official Duke. Erwin credits Rita with being the sole shining light in his dark and lonely light, and wonders how she, an amazing, bright person, came into his life. Rita replies that maybe Erwin was fated to live after all. This brings a considerable smile to Erwin's face, who expresses more of his affection through words, though discreetly, and even touching Rita's cheek. However, Rita still thinks back to Erwin's words about them not being siblings, which had hurt her to this day. It's from her dream, or is it a premonition? Anyway, Rita finally congratulates Erwin on becoming a duke, and he admits that only now does he feel like one through Rita's greetings, despite the inauguration. And so the two enjoy their dinner under the moonlight. The morning after, some noble women gossip about Erwin's inauguration, of their seemingly harsh and calculated demeanor, but mainly for his good looks. Among them is Vetia Eli Avik, who despite her father wanting her to marry Wedrick and become a baroness, plans to seduce Erwin to become a duchess herself. Vetia's closeness with Wedrick became the topic of conversation, mainly because Lady Silvina slyly wants to remove Vetia from the race for Erwin. Vetia retaliates by stepping on her rival's feet with her heels and feigning ignorance. But Silvina one-ups her by asking for help and pushing Vetia to the ground. Gosh, look at this catfight over a guy they don't even know! Unfortunately, Vetia's ankle is seemingly injured, and as a maid's tending to her, she notices Rita walking by and asks for her assistance. Rita introduces herself as the castle's doctor's assistant, and she examines Vatia, who she recognizes as Wedrick's fiancé in her past life. Rita learns that the ladies are vying for Aryan and overhears the rumors surrounding Vatia. She even makes the conclusion that Vatia doesn't know her father is in the rebellion. But right as she gives a prescription for Vatia's ankle, Aryan shows up, angry that somehow Rita is tending to some guest. Naturally, Vatia turns on the charm, but Aryan ignores her for Rita, who he tells is only an assistant by name because she's not of age yet. In reality, Rita is Aryan's personal doctor, tending to him and him alone. He escorts Rita away, who bids a confused Vatia her prescription will be delivered by a maid. While walking, the two encounter Wedrick, who congratulates his cousin Aryan for the title of Duke. Rita, however, defends Aryan from Wedrick's malicious words, citing his bullying of Aryan before. Angered, Wedrick warns Rita of her place. Aryan swoops in, saying it's his cousin that should remember his place, as Rita's under his protection. The conversation gets interrupted by the arrival of Sir Kane's Lentho Zibaloni, a naval doctor looking for Rita. Aryan then passively dismisses Wedrick, who gets angered even more and walks away. Meanwhile, Kanes reveals that he arrived not for the inauguration, but just for today as a guest. He makes a more important announcement that His Highness, Prince Jade, is also present. The news shocks both Rita and the newly inaugurated Duke Aryan. Aryan, Rita, and Sir Kanes meet formally in the castle. It seems that without Rita, Prince Jade's eye disease would have taken one of his eyes. Sir Kanes extends his gratitude and returns Rita's medical book. He also confirms Rita's social class as a commoner, which was a surprise to him. Kanes was sure Rita was a noblewoman. But he continues to address her as one, though. The respectful Sir Kanes. Sir Kanes also confirms whether Viscount Perlman will be Rita's godfather. Anyway, Kanes reveals Prince Jade is extremely grateful to Rita, so he hands Rita an imperial invitation from the prince himself to attend a victory banquet. Apparently, the prince hoped to meet Rita there and change the rules so all social classes could attend. Rita only accepts, though, to gather info on the rebellion in House Avik. And so Rita meets and informs Lady Sirius of her imperial invitation, who's more ecstatic about it than her. She immediately thinks of getting Rita more dresses, as she informs the dense female lead that since she was invited by the prince, she'll have the first dance with Jade. She even says she'll get her dance and etiquette coaches. She laments not being able to adopt Rita to help her, but she believes Rita can become an imperial princess through Jade even as a commoner, though Rita doesn't think so. Lady Sirius blames Aryan for hurting Rita's chances and expresses worry for her future daughter-in-law. Rita, however, believes Aryan to be a good future husband, retelling her encounter with the noblewomen. But Lady Sirius is more angry that Rita had tended to Vatia among other things. Meanwhile, Aryan asks his guards to compare him and Jade. They reveal their charm is extremely opposite, making Aryan worried Rita likes the princes as a whole. He's also agitated that Rita will dance with him. Ezekiel reveals that Rita sees Aryan differently, more like a boy from her youth rather than a man for marriage. Right as Aryan declares to become more of a man for Rita, the captain of his guards rushed to announce the torture of the spy Kane has ended, and he revealed a rebellion movement was involved. Aryan learns of the rebel movement, but unfortunately, information on who's leading it wasn't spilled. The first target was his mother, then Rita and his captain guard. He's sure he's next, but what worries him more is that he's sure that Rita will try to protect him, and he can't have her harmed. Anyway, it's 1 month until the victory banquet, so Rita's extensively learning how to dance and all that. In this society, it's a big deal on who gets the first dance. Not that Rita cares. She knows if Vatia gets Aryan's first dance, then it might create tension with her father, who secretly sides with the rebellion. This would require Aryan's help, but she hesitates as in the future, Aryan is entangled with the rebellion as per her premonition. Oh my, what might this mean? But Rita chooses to trust Aryan as he is now, and chalks what she saw up to a bad dream. She asks DL if they could get a personal heat tracker, a magical device that can track a person even in the midst of a large crowd. But DL explains it's an extremely rare item, not easily purchased even with the Perlman Trade Company. DL only knows one person who has it. In fact, it's Lord Perlman. Acquired when he was part of the Imperial Research Group, it has remained unused since Lady Sione's passing. But to get it would be to go to the Perlman estate, where they'd have to meet Lord Felix, the elder of the family, and Lord Perlman's sister Serene, a celibate knight who's very fierce. Still, Rita chooses to go, and finds the Perlman estate roads to be laid with marble. Although Lord Felix was grumpy at first, he and Serene softened their opinion of Rita once they knew she's Arga's goddaughter. However, Lord Felix remains adamant that he cannot give Rita his son's heat tracker, but announces that a room and dinner is to be served to his grand goddaughter. DL worries that Rita's request got rejected, but she remains positive that she can convince the Perlmans by the morning. After Rita enjoyed dinner at the Perlman estate, she'd been waiting for someone outside near the gardens. It turns out to be Lord Felix, who's surprised to see Rita there. Turns out she figured that the elder Perlman had arthritis, based on the tea and the way Serene supported him while walking. Rita suggests changes in treatment for Felix, such as a new prescription, as well as arranging for the marble paths and the trees present to be removed so that he could walk more on dirt paths for his knees. However, Lord Felix revealed that the trees were planted by his daughter-in-law, Sione, and that the marble path was because of a superstition that helped his son and Sione sire a daughter. Now the marble path is a reminder for the missing child that the family still awaits for her return. As such, Lord Felix expresses his desire to live until he sees his granddaughter. Rita sympathizes with him, saying she's also searching for her parents, and retracts her suggestion that they change the garden. Many times during their conversation, Lord Felix is silenced by Rita's intelligence. And perhaps something else? So much so that he invites her to breakfast. The following morning, as per DL's observation, Lord Felix is in a better mood. Finally, he allows Rita to borrow the heat tracker, but on the condition that Serene is to go with Rita during the banquet. They reach an agreement, but Serene reveals she isn't so trusting of new people, even Rita. Especially since her only friend, Lady Sione's passing, the Perlmans are deeply affected by it. Meanwhile, when Rita returns to Erwin's estate, he visits her, noting she's still studying the biscuits he ate as a child. More importantly, Erwin shares with Rita about the discovery of a rebel movement. In light of the rebel forces targeting Sirius, Erwin plans to take action. But what he fears is Rita getting hurt the most since he cares for her. A lot. So Rita asks Erwin if he ever thought of joining the rebellion, to which the Duke replies he wouldn't join the people who hurt Rita, but lets slip that he has thought of rebelling himself. Turns out, he was only considering it if laws prohibit a noble and a commoner together. But Rita, remembering her premonition, is horrified by Erwin's answer. Meanwhile, Erwin thinks Rita's panic is because of her affection for Prince Jade. Gosh, what a bunch of misunderstandings! Anyway, they confirm that if Erwin loses or gives away the Duke title, Wedrick will inherit it. Rita knows it's bad since Wedrick wasn't nice to Erwin since childhood, but he's Erwin's only blood. Besides, Erwin knows if no laws about nobles and commoners marrying are done, he'll step down for Rita, which is why he's a little thankful for Wedrick's existence. But not that much, as he suspects his cousin and Baron Roman at the moment. Changing the topic, Erwin asks Rita for her type in men, to which she says she likes a perfect man, like her. Amused, Erwin admits the same thing, but his perfect woman is like Rita. Naturally, Rita denies being perfect, citing her dancing skills. So the Duke offers his hand for a dance, and the two twirl away all by themselves. The significance of this is that they are each other's first dance. Ah, cute! Anyway, it's here, and Rita makes a deal with Erwin. He'll dance with Vitia and have a drink with her during the banquet, and Rita will never dance with another man in any banquet except this one. Finally, the day of the victory banquet arrives, and Erin has just finished Rita's impossible task. But enacting her revenge, she gives him a phony certificate, has all the flowers he worked for burned, and makes him drink sleeping potions before he could report to Wedrick. Lady Sirius is the first one to note Rita's good looks in her banquet dress, and she even stipulates that Rita's opinions on the dress be done when the girl makes suggestions to it. She again laments that she didn't adopt Rita, as she's sure she can get a lot of suitors. On the other hand, Lady Sirius is less concerned with Erwin's love life, admitting that her son is handsome and good at what he does, but if a girl ever marries him, it'll only be for his looks. She does confide in Rita that before, she and Lady Sione had promised to marry their children, but after her passing, that promise was forgotten. Rita realizes the importance of the missing Lady Perlman, but I have a sneaky suspicion it's her. Fingers crossed. Anyway, Rita and Erwin head to the banquet together, and in the carriage, Erwin seems to let Rita know he's a little jealous. He asks if she gets mad if he entertains Vetia. Rita reminds him to be a little open socially, but Erwin, like a child, professes his heart will break if Rita accepts someone else in her heart. Dense as ever, she just tells him to grow up. LOL. Soon, the two arrive at the Imperial Palace just as the fireworks start for the victory banquet. but more eyes seem to gravitate towards the two, though it's expected for the new Duke Sirius and a commoner attending the royal banquet. Inside, Rita sees Lady Serene, who acknowledges her with a curt nod before Prince Jade himself greets Rita and Erwin. After exchanging pleasantries, he asks for Rita's hand for a dance, which she accepts. Before leaving, she whispers to Erwin to go find Vatia, though Erwin's left looking like a lost puppy. Prince Jade expresses his happiness that he and Rita are together again and praises her medical skills. With that, and knowing of her coming of age is nearing, the prince himself offers Rita a place within the elite Imperial Medical Unit. For her skills, and because he wants to know her more. Prince Jade is sure Rita's position as part of the Imperial Medical Unit would be accepted at his recommendation, since his half-brother Prince Heldon oversees the unit for his liking of medicine. Rita observes that despite Heldon being older, he must have been excluded from the throne because of his lineage. Anyway, the music starts and the pair start dancing while continuing their conversation. Ever humble, Rita lets the prince know that the position is too much as a repayment for what she did, but she did ask that the prince let her see him whenever she can. The prince interprets this as a romantic gesture and blushes profusely, but accepts nonetheless. Gosh, Rita's out here mistakenly giving false intentions. Meanwhile, Rita makes sure to glance at Erwin, and she's delighted that he did as she asked. He danced with Vatia, who looks to be dying with excitement at getting chosen by the handsome bachelor. Erwin then asks Vatia for a drink, as per Rita's plan, and Vatia's all too happy to drink Sirius champagne at his insistence. When the music is stopped, Rita formally declines a second dance from the prince and heads to Serene. She asks for the personal heat tracker and admits she plans to use it on Vatia, but doesn't reveal why. When reminded by Serene of her moral duty as a knight, Rita merely replies with her belief as a doctor, something the Lady Knight says is a similar thing with her brother and Rita. Anyway, Rita meets with Erwin at a balcony where the Duke asks her of her plan. She lets slip that she'll leave once he's fully recovered, saddening Erwin. The Duke begs her to stay, noting her promise that she'll take care of him all those years ago. But all Rita thinks is that to an observer, it might seem Erwin is seducing her. But girl, Erwin is seducing you! As Rita's getting worried about Erwin's antics, they get interrupted when they hear Vatia being drunk at the party. Rita is first at the scene, and Vatia recognizes her. Rita has her eat potacelia petals, adorning her dress to counteract the alcohol. Getting Vatia drunk with Sirius champagne, which Rita knows is of a higher alcohol content, is all part of her plan. Rita finds a place for the drunk Vatia to rest, and there she activates the personal heat tracker on Vatia. They strike a conversation, mainly where Rita suggests that Vatia makes it clear to the public that she wants Erwin and not his cousin Wedrick. Wow, how smart is Rita to plan all this? Now sober, Vatia wades back to the party, and Sir Keynes approaches the now alone Rita. He praises her for her handling of the situation, and asks her for her plans after her coming of age. It seems Rita is hesitating to leave the Sirius estate, and for the first time actually acknowledges her growing feelings for Erwin. Sadly, she quickly concludes it wouldn't work anyway. Girl, no getting ahead of yourself! Anyway, Sir Keynes came to suggest Rita to join the army as a surgeon. The Imperial Medical Unit is under Prince Heldon, so Prince Jade is of little help to her. But at the army, Sir Keynes can have Rita's back. It seems the old knight wants to repay his honorable debt to Rita when she helped heal Prince Jade. Speaking of, Prince Jade soon arrives and apologizes to Rita for being an unattentive host to his personal guest. However, Rita notices the commotion between Vatia, her father, and Wedrick, so despite Erwin not being present, she enacts her plan to catch the rebels alone, knowing someone else, not Wedrick, is the mastermind, and excuses herself from the prince. And so Prince Jade and Keynes talk, with the former revealing his feelings for Rita, the only girl who's confident and smiled at him after years at war, to the latter. Sir Keynes warns the prince that such a love is complicated between royalty and commoner. But Prince Jade vows to remove all complications once he becomes the emperor, all for love. We'll stop here for today, guys. Yes, I know you want more. Don't forget to ask for the next part in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching and for your support. Please subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Till the next one.